My name is Hilary Farmiloe and I work for Aspire, and I manage the InstructAbility program, which is a program to enable disabled people to become qualified fitness professionals and work in the industry. Aspire had built an inclusive leisure facility which was a very accessible facility, but they also employed disabled people to undertake a range of roles within the leisure facility, and that encouraged a lot of disabled people to actually use the leisure centre. And Aspire recognised that disabled people were underrepresented in the sector workforce, and they faced a number of barriers to actually get onto training courses that weren't always accessible, or they weren't delivered in an accessible manner. And they also faced discrimination when applying for jobs and trying to gain employment in the sector. So that is why we set up InstructAbility, to remove those barriers and create more opportunities. We've had people come on the program who have been out of work for a long time or out of the learning environment. So sometimes they come with a lack of confidence. So we've seen people go through this program and really gain much greater self-esteem, and when it then progresses into employment, they really develop a much greater sense of self-worth and have much more purpose and structure to their lives. The other thing that we've seen, which we didn't anticipate, were a number of people coming with impairments and health conditions that caused pain or fatigue, and they found that once they were undertaking the training to become a fitness professional, they started to exercise a lot more themselves. They started to apply a lot of the training techniques to their own workouts, and they found that as a consequence they could manage their pain a lot better. They were more energized, and in some situations they were able to reduce or come off completely any kind of medication for pain relief. I think creating more opportunities for disabled people to get physically active through having more role models working in the sector, it doesn't just impact upon that individual, because quite often when they're being physically active they want to do that with friends or family, so that can have a real impact upon everybody around them. And we've heard of, some people who've actually started exercising and it's them that has inspired their friends to actually start exercising as well. In terms of disabled people who've gained jobs and employment in the sector, they've had a real impact on the perceptions of employers, who quite often come with preconceived ideas about what a disabled person can or can't do, and then once they've seen them in the workplace they realise that they're just as competent as their non-disabled peers, and sometimes they can actually come with a value added asset to the business, because they come with that experience and understanding of what disability is. So there's been a real benefit to employers. We've also seen other staff that have been working alongside that disabled person who maybe in the past have felt awkward about being around disabled people or talking to them, and quite often it's a fear about causing offence or saying the wrong thing. And we've seen a lot of staff who've kind of then reported that they've learnt so much more by having a colleague with a disability working within their staff team. And I think the other knock-on benefit is for the actual customers. So both disabled and non-disabled people can really benefit from having somebody with experience about what the challenges might be, whether they're physical challenges of getting into a tight space if you've got a wheelchair, or getting onto a certain piece of equipment, or joining a class that maybe you can't keep up with and you need to do it as a chair-based exercise rather than standing up. And all these adaptations are great for disabled customers, but there's also a whole range of other people with varying abilities, different health conditions, maybe older people or pregnant ladies, everybody who can actually really benefit from making all the provision of the classes and the exercises accessible to everybody. We haven't looked at recreating the model of what we're doing, because what we actually want to do is, our vision is that we can influence the way people and organisations deliver training and qualifications, and we can influence employers to be more accessible and inclusive of disabled people, so we end up with a situation where we don't actually need InstructAbility. And that is our kind of next phase of work, where we've been undertaking some research with the University of Birmingham and University of Portsmouth to undertake a 2-year study researching and consulting with disabled people, with training organisations and with leisure operators, to find out what are the barriers and what are the solutions that we can kind of create the best possible situation for disabled people to get through that journey. And so we're at a point now where we will be translating all this research into a set of guidelines for the sector, which we're hoping to publish early next year.